Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. It's still a Daybreak on Trust TV. Let's take a look at the newspapers and we will be starting off with Daily Trust. The lead story here says cash withdrawals from government accounts to end March 1st, says NFIU. Writers here say officials to receive ESTA code allowances through accounts. Federal government, states, local governments withdrew over 1 trillion naira since 2015. Implementation requires political will, says experts, and program ought to have started along TSA. You can find details of that story on page 4. Now, just below the story is a pictorial of patients lying in the medical department of a hospital amid the coronavirus disease outbreak in Shanghai, China. At the top of the page there we have OPEC's oil output rises as Nigeria rebounds. Details on page 26. Bauchi Emir replaces Bello Kirfi with Ahmed Kari as new Waziri. 18 Borno passengers burned to death in Bauchi auto crash. Now below on the footnote there we have INEC devolves PVC's collection towards registration areas. 5-day-old boy risks amputation over doctor's negligence in Kano. Local government autonomy bill hindering constitution amendment, says Omo Agege. And APC governors not in secret deal with Atiku, says Nasarawa governor. These are some of the stories on Daily Trust.
We move on straight to Blueprint newspaper, and we have there as the major story from 2015 to 2022. NFIU says FG withdrew 225.72 billion, states 701.54 billion, and local government 156.76 billion cash. Issues new guidelines stopping withdrawal from public accounts, and payment of ESTA code overseas allowance would also stop from March 1st. We have there pictures from electorates searching through their permanent voters card at the Independent National Electoral Commission's office at Magajingari Ward in Kaduna North local government area of Kaduna yesterday. And to other stories on the front page, Tinubu fires OBJ, says you are unfit to recommend president for Nigeria. I created local government, wicked Obasanjo seized our money and punished us. You don't follow a man who doesn't know the way. Shivaji resisted Obasanjo's plan for a one-party state of Shomole. You'll find the details of that on page 6. And moving on to other stories, FG projects 3.75% GDP and 17.16% inflation rate in 2023 budget. Let's revive technology colleges for technological breakthrough, and that is coming from Naseni. To other stories, no recruitment aptitude test, January 8, NSCDC warns applicant. Dan Modi, 2023, how APC plans to take Jigawa. Dan Modi, yes, how APC plans to take Jigawa youths off drugs, thuggery, menace. You'll find the details of that on page 7. INEC name ICC Abuja Collection Center moves PVC collection to wards. And report of 7.877 metric MB crude exports malicious, according to the NNPCL. Local government autonomy bill, biggest challenge to constitution amendment, and that is coming from Omo Agege. We will disclose G5 governor's presidential candidate soon, or Tom. And to the last story there on the front page, FCTA resumes impound and crush operation, flatten 200 motorcycle. These are the major stories that made it to the front page of the Blueprint.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the Punch newspaper. And the lead story here says 28 governors pile up 5.8 trillion naira debts for incoming governments. And we have writers that say states' debts to rise above 200% of revenue in 2023, says World Bank. Lagos cannot execute laudable projects without loans, says Commissioner. And at the top of the page there we have consumers say electricity tariff hike illegal, anger spreads. Federal government gives operators ultimatum to name oil well owners, and you can find details on page 21. And there's a pictorial there below the lead story of supporters demanding sainthood for Benedict as ex-pope is buried. And we also have Makinde kickstart second term campaign, forces multiple battles. How Lagos policeman ministry paid 185,000 naira for newborn. Details on page 16 and 17. And on Lagos-Ibadan highway, commuters groan as Julius Berger returns. These are some of the stories of the Punch newspaper.
And moving on to the Nation newspaper, the major headline there, presidential poll, G5 governors keep PDP supporters in suspense. Interesting, and there you find the pictorials from the rally of Governor Seyi Makinde, as well as the outing by the APC presidential candidate in Edo. Tinubu, I will convert Yahoo boys to tech experts. Interesting. And to other stories here, all APC governors behind Tinubu, Sule affirms. This is in responding to Atiku meeting with a number of them. And council autonomy, our headache on constitution amendments. 22 fuel stations sealed for selling above approved price, and Aregbesol's men in Osun APC campaign team. These are the major stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
All right, next is Nigerian News Direct, and we have eradicate oil theft before May 29. Buhari tasks Nigerian armed forces as NNPC debunks illegal export of 17.877 million barrels of crude oil. That's the lead story. We have Abdulrazak swears in Justice at Debara as new acting CJ of Kwara. We also have broadband penetration hits 46.24% as Nigeria adds 4.2 million new subscribers. Oyetola inaugurates Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council in Osun State. At the top of the page there we have Abiodun kicks off second term campaign in Imeko. INEC on 2023 polls, INEC devolves PVC collection towards nationwide ICE turnout. And we also have TCN takes delivery of two 150 MVA power transformers accessories. And these are some of the stories on Nigerian News Direct.
And moving on to leadership on Friday, we have them staying with the story from the NFIU. In a renewed anti-graft war, NFIU goes after FG states and local government. You'll find the details of that on page 4. And to other stories there, we have 2023 G5 governors fail to unveil preferred candidates. INEC devolve PVC collection to wards. Labour stakeholders groan as discos secretly raise tariff. Pope Benedict XVI laid to rest by successor Francis. And to other stories, NIPC CEO keeps mum as directors allege threat to life. It appears Saratu Altin's situation at the NIPC is not abating anytime soon. And custom frustrating cargo clearance at seaport, clearing agents. 2023, Governor Abiodun kickstart campaign in Ogun. And you'll find pictures there of General Irabo and Mele Kyari, as well as the Minister of Petroleum, Dimitri Sylvain, and other agencies there on a patrol of during a visit to the troop on the Operation Delta, the mission to fight crude oil theft in the Niger deltas. These are the major stories from the front page of leadership.
All right, next is First News, and the lead story here talks about government officials withdraw 701 billion naira cash from public accounts since 2015, says NFIU. Bans further cash withdrawal, vows to prosecute offenders. Agency orders banks to stop cash withdrawal from government accounts from March 1 and says money withdrawn from public accounts in flagrant disregard for money laundering laws for corruption purposes. We also have at the top of the page there, Obasanjo's endorsement of Obi is blind leading the blind, says Tinubu. We have end crude oil theft by May 29. Buhari orders security agencies. Onoche labels NDDC shame of our nation, says we'll turn it around. There's still the story that says why EFCC shouldn't be in existence, says Agbakoba. INEC sets aside 8,809 beavers as backup. And military government more sympathetic to plight of lecturers, says ASU president. These are some of the stories on First News this morning.
Interesting developments there on the front page. We now have joining us analyst who will be bringing us in-depth perspective from the issues that made it to the front burner this morning. The editor, 21st Century Chronicle, Malam Nuruddin Abdullah. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
You look quite ministerial and majestic this morning.
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving straight to one of the issues that seem to have made it to the front pages of most of the papers this morning would be what appears like the sudden announcement from the NFIU, which is a reinforcement, if you like, of the decisions that had come out of the central bank in recent week. The suspension from whatever limit it is to zero of cash withdrawal from government accounts from the federal, state, and local government level, as well as suspension of cash payments, whether it is Esther code and all of that. How did that news hit you?
Okay, I'm not a civil servant. But generally speaking, the measures, no matter how harsh they look, they are laudable. Yes, they are laudable. Particularly if you just reading from the newspapers. EFCC has arrested an official of Kogi State who is related to the governor, who withdrew over 10 billion from the state accounts. That's just one
scenario.
There are hundreds of such scenarios across the country.
In fact, they alluded that in one state they withdrew 24 billion.
Yes. So the measures are actually laudable and well-intentioned. The timing and what have you is another thing entirely different. And more importantly, whether the NFIU has the political will, the competence to implement these laudable policies.
Are you insinuating that we will see the DSS going after the head as we have seen with others?
So yeah,
when
because
you talk about political will.
Yes, because but my fear is this: it seems that the NFIU is biting more than it can chew, because these are money. Almost all these policies are based on the Money Laundering Act, as amended 2022 last year. You understand? What have you? But there is a constitutional crisis, like one of the senior lawyers raised. excuse me, not long ago, that the local governments are constitutionally created. NFIU is a creation of the federal government. So all these bans, restrictions should be imposed on the federal government account, not the federation account. The federation account is owned by the three tiers of the government, recognized by the Constitution. The federal government, the 36th state, and the 774 local governments, you understand? So you can't decide for a state or for a local government how it does with its money, or how, when it removes, withdraw from its money, or when it's, that is one. And more importantly, does NFIU have the capacity to monitor the 774 local governments, to monitor the foreign missions operating in Nigeria, to monitor more than 100 Nigerian missions abroad, to monitor all the NGOs operating in Nigeria, to monitor all the development partners? How many staff does it have?
But they would also argue that the NFIU doesn't have to do the monitoring. By law, it issues guidelines. You have the AFCC, you have the ICPC, and then the Office of the Accountant General that audits all of this. So if you show up in a ministry and you can see that cash, rather than go through an account, has moved out, I mean, that clearly has gone against the extant laws, and it is left for you to trigger, isn't it?
So NFIU is not going to monitor this development?
I mean, the point they made was it's just like the central bank. They make laws, but the police and the agencies are there to ensure the
Then
implementation.
that's where the problem is. You are creating opportunities for corruption. More importantly, the NFIU chief, Mr. Modibo, yesterday said that there are exceptions where the president gives waiver. That waiver, you don't need a clairvoyant to tell you that it will be fraudulently used. You understand? As I'm talking to you now, there are agencies that deal with cash. The military, for instance. You remember the Osborne Tower incident. There are security agencies that, based on their modus operandi, they require huge cache of cash to do their businesses and what have you. But my concern here is this. Let the FNU go softly, one thing at a time. You understand? Now you are dealing with the 774 local governments. You are dealing with the 36 states. You are dealing with the foreign missions operating in Nigeria. You are dealing with the Nigerian missions operating abroad. You are dealing with development partners. Like one of the, I think I read in your paper, one of the NGO guys, I think United Nations Development, so you are talking about the Accountant General Office. Isn't that where AGF Ahmed Idris was? Right?
So
now, just like the TSA, you restricted everything to some ministries. So now you have created a queue, and you know when there is a queue, you know what happens. So people will be buying their ways to get things done. You understand? But more importantly, let's go one thing at a time. Deal with the federal agencies. Don't even go to state first. Because the last chunk of the budget is here, 21 trillion. If you can monitor that effectively, and let's see, then maybe when you start talking about the state or local government, nobody will raise an eyebrow. You understand? And let's see examples with the banks. Banks are collaborators, some of them, in moving this large chunk of cash and what have you. What do we do? Is it the police? Is it the ICPC? Is it the EFCC? Are you not overstretching them? Particularly by covering this large swath of areas. Let's say there are more than 700 federal agencies that are going to spend this 21 trillion next year, for instance. The states are going to spend almost same amount, about 15 trillion or so. Let's start with this. Don't go to the NGOs yet, for instance, because you'll overstretch yourself, you'll end up becoming inactive and whatever. But by and large, it's a very good development, even though some politicians are saying that it is politically intentioned, particularly as bearing in mind the time all these things come. But it's good for all, yeah.
I actually wish we could talk more on this, but time is not on our side, so we'll just move on to, more stories. Can you share your thoughts on the order given by the president to security agencies saying crude oil theft must end by May 29?
Okay, it's another order. Why you?
I'm just preempting.
I think Nigerians don't need an order. Some months ago, we saw Mr. Irabo, the chief of defense staff, must say that the man is working. Melekari, in the Niger Delta area, they uncover a pipe that is moved to escravos and what have you. They say that the pipe measures almost more than 20 kilometers, right? And it has been there for almost more than 20 years.
Wow.
But I don't know whether I missed it. What I didn't see up to now is who are those in the NNPC, DPR, security agencies that are involved. You can't be scooping Nigerian crude for more than 10 years with a pipe that measures almost more than 20 kilometers without the connivance of the security agency, because that is Nigeria. That place is Nigeria. We have the Air Force there. There are special whatever there. But nobody was queried to our knowledge. So it's not giving an order. And look at it. After that incident, there is now a squabble between the Nigerian naval forces that are monitoring and protecting this oil and gas infrastructure and the NNPC. I remember one of the generals there, he just dismissed. He said the figures being bandied by NNPC is wrong. They are not tenable. So beyond that, what I thought the Mr. President will do is, let's investigate this. Some people are milking the country dry from this. Some people are benefiting from it. They are not devils or jinns that are constructing these massive pipelines, scooping on them for more than 10 years, undetected. And you just carry cameramen and whatever you do, and you are celebrating that you have detected a massive fraud that denied the country trillions of naira, and nothing happens.
Interesting. Sometimes when you watch this report, you wonder whether our leaders have any kind of respect for our collective intellect. In the local palace, you worry. They will say they know the rate us because I mean, when you show up in a place like that, there are 1,000,001 evidences. If you do forensic
investigation,
if you do forensic investigation with a laser cameras, you can pick up several fingerprints and run them by the BVNs and the NIM fingerprint database that we have, and begin to find people who will lead you to more people who will lead you to this structure. But that's a conversation for another time. Breaking away from some of these hard crackers, I mean, you're watching the development in Bauchi with Bello Kirfi. I mean, today he's restored, tomorrow he's denied. They are alleging that all of this is because of his political differences or his preference for Atiku. And the Emirate rushing to then announce a new person as a wazir in Bauchi, as if they were going to sit other delegates that would make a major pronouncement. I mean, what do you make of all of this drama?
Two things. One, the situation in Bauchi is neither here nor there. Yeah, because based on the reports, the incumbent governor, Bala Mohammed, is finding it hard to, even though he's contesting against equally another factionalized opposition party, the APC. General Sadiq is there, but there are so many problems in the APC as well. But I think more importantly, you'll see how the traditional institution has been rubbished. That's it. The traditional institution has been rubbished. You remember, if you read the first letter, I like the way it was crafted. The second letter did not indicate that, appointing Kari as the Waziri. The first letter they said that it was the Emirate Council, meaning the Emir, that was sacking the Waziri Kirifi, but based on a directive
local government
by the Ministry for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs of the India, letter dated blah 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 with reference number blah blah blah, to show you actually the offense was not committed against the Emirates, but against the power that be, Bala Mohammed. And it was clear there for disloyalty and disrespect against the government of the state and the governor. And whatever. So you see how the traditional institution has been rubbished. Because this is a mockery of the... you remember the same Kirifi had issues with the then governor in 2007, where he was... The other one was even better, because he was suspended for almost 3 years. So when Bala Mohammed came, and he worked for Bala that time.
Yes, for pitching tent with Bala.
Exactly. He's a politician.
That's right.
And by his role as the Waziri, there is no law that stops him from doing politics. You understand? So Bala led the entire cabinet, and I think the legislature, with his deputy, they came and gave him the reinstatement letter. But now with the convention, what you guys reported is that before the convention, Bala came, but he told him that, Your Excellency, allow Atiku to have his way. So I think, according to the reports, that was the last straw that brought the camels back. So he went there, he had no support. And you see the mass resignation. commissioners, SAs, even party. It seems that the man is. So more importantly, it's a battle of wits, and but the most annoying part of it is how the traditional institution has been reduced to nothing. But it's not surprising. It's happening in Bauchi, where a Durbar was organized for the president's daughter, who was there on a photo shootout. So you can see how the institution has been. The institution we revere has been reduced to.
Kind of reminds us of what's happened in Kano State as well. But we'll just move on to this particular story. We'd like you to touch on talking about the G5 governors. We've seen them gather resources to support gubernatorial candidates in PDP candidates in states, but we've not seen them support the presidential candidates yet, and they're now saying that they'll soon announce their preferred presidential candidates.
Okay. Like I mentioned, we are we are students of politics, and we know what happened in 2003. The AD governors with Obasanjo. A weaker group are towing that line. You remember Obasanjo complained to them that he has no single PDP governor in the Southwest where he comes from. He's indeed a prophet that was not loved at home. The Northerners were teasing him, particularly with what happened between him and Atiku. You remember during the APC, the PDP convention in Abuja. So he had an agreement with them. He said the Lam Adesina, BC Akonde, this other guy, that veteran journalist I want to feel. But Tinubu told them, he said, you are going to dine with the devil. So be careful. They agreed, yes, they will support. In fact, AD suspended, so to say, their candidate, and they supported Obasanjo with an agreement that, okay, they will support him as president, but he will not give support to the PDP guys, so they will return. He swept all of them, minus Tinubu, who refused to join that agreement. And that has been the running battle between Obasanjo and Tinubu ever since. But the AD governors, we are deceived. And look at it, maybe with some instances related Kano. How sophisticated are the Benue voters? That they will vote for Peter Obi as president and come down and vote for Autumn as PDP Senate.
He has not revealed his Peter Obi, is it?
No, I'm citing an instance. Okay. How sophisticated are the voters? You understand? Or even Ikpeazu and Ogwana, is that or that something? So they will support, let's say, Peter Obi or Sowore
in a different party
or Tinubu. Then they will come down, the mama in the village, and say, okay, Ikpeazu is going for Senate under PDP.
But isn't there a party law against what they're doing?
No. But again, look at what is happening in Oyo. The PDP people are saying, no. The party structure is supporting Atiku. Because what they are doing is they are confusing the electorate, you understand? And Makinde is in the diciest position. It's Oyo. Oyo is like Ahmad Ali said, it's a garrison city, even politically. So there are so many interests. Is it the Ibadan politicians, and what have you? So one week coming, I think they have been governors, most of them, for 8 years. Like Autumn has been minister for them. So let him get his acts right. And don't, like you say, is it Warion and they don't rate us, or what do you call it? They are undermining the intellect of what benefit is this crisis to the voter in Vadekia or Katsina Ala or Gwe West. It's one battle of which elsewhere and what have you. So, in 2023 election, this election will actually going to be a different one.
Absolutely.
They have underrated us so much, but most of these governors will get their shortest
The confusion he actually spoke about reminds me of a video I saw an eyewitness actually posted on a poster that was posted in a community in Bauchi State where Atiku was governor and Peter Obi president and Peter Obi vice president. That's the kind of confusion that's actually going on right now.
I want to take it that we are used to this confusion. Just citing the same example, I saw a woman from the rural environment wearing a Labour cap, an APC shirt, and a PDP wrapper.
So, we're true Nigerian.
Absolutely. Interesting developments there on the front page. We wish we had more time to dig into other things. The interesting pictures, interesting and sad pictures coming out from China on the COVID-19 and several other developing situations across the world. But this is the much that time will permit us to take. I want to thank you, Nuruddin Abdullah, for making it to the studio.
My pleasure.
As always.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And like you have said, I hope you have your PVC ready. We are going to deal them a blow according to
sure. We'll shock them.
We'll take a short breather. We'll return at the top of the hour to serve you more interesting development. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal